And welcome to the 2017 NCVTS Tax Rate Webinar. This webinar is going to be presented by the North Carolina Department of Revenue, Tina Stone, Travis Isaac, Robin Rogers, Tabitha Ash. And I am Robin Rogers. In the room with me is Travis Isaac and Tabitha Ash. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you guys, if you have up on the screen, you can see how to get to the webinar. Hopefully everyone is there. If you have questions, please enter your questions and we will go to the questions after the webinar. And if for some reason you can't hear anything, please type something up there to let us know. The agenda for today, the tax rate timeline, tax schedule, editing tax rate vehicle fees, adding municipal vehicle fee, adding new tax districts and generic combinations, retiring addresses, certification of tax rates, changes after July 1st, tax rate combinations, additional resources, gap billing, and enhancements. Okay, the first thing is the timeline for the tax rate. June 19th, new tax districts and generic combinations are due by 5 o'clock. Send your file to DOR, file format available on the customer portal. So on the customer portal, you will find your file format. Upload on June 24th and 25th. So please try to adhere to this date, June 19th. If you know what's going to happen, please send it in to us so we can do our part and have it in there and available to you guys. June 28th, the tax rates are due by 5 o'clock. You know what happens if you don't have those in on time? You will, well, we'll get to that soon. June 30th, tax rates and fees are finalized in the VTS at midnight. July 1st, counties will no longer be able to update their rates and fees. The 2017 tax rates become effective in the NCVTS. Tax rate certification and budget information are due to DOR. Please submit this as soon as the budget is approved. So we want to see your budget information. Please send that with your tax rate. If you don't get it in on time, July 1st, whatever you have in the system, that's what will be used for your tax rate. So please, please, please encourage your folks to get it into us on time.
I mean, just the ramifications here. If you don't have your rates in by the 1st, and not all of you can control that, everybody that gets an issuance will not be getting charged the new tax rate. That's pretty much the problem here. Now, if you don't have, if you know your county may have a new tax district coming this way, I mean, like she said, we need to know ASAP, because if it's a large change, it takes a little while to test that. If it's a small change, it's not that big a deal. But we do have 2 or 3 counties out there making countywide tax rate changes and adding codes, so it is imperative if you get that in, if you know that's going to happen. Thanks.
Tax schedule. Okay. Select your 2017 tax rate year drop down. Click the search button. Review, edit, and or add new municipal vehicle fees. Farragut will copy over your new rates, the 16 to the 17, but you still need to verify. Please verify your tax rate. You should do 2 people, and then we verify them also. But it's very important that you guys verify your tax rate. Like I said, Farragut will copy over from 16 to 17, but you need to verify your rate. Make sure everything is what it's supposed to be.
And they have already been copied over. If you already know your rates, you can go ahead and work on those.
Edit tax rate of vehicle fee. The tutorial can be found on the portal. To view the portal link, you must be logged into the portal. The customer portal is the email, the address is right there. Please utilize the customer portal. It has step-by-step instructions on how to do what you need to do to edit your tax rate. If you have any questions, you always can call us, but the tutorial is on the Fresh Desk, and it's very, very helpful. Okay, so you edit your tax rate. You would click the edit button beside the rate you wish to change. Make your appropriate corrections under the Maintain Tax Schedule and click the Submit button. So please look at what you're doing, to do it carefully and verify what you're doing. But all you would do is just edit and make your changes and submit. To do your vehicle fee, you would click Edit beside the fee you want to change. Make your change and hit Submit. And make sure it should say vehicle fee. Just verify your information. Always verify your information before you hit Submit. Adding municipal vehicle fees. You know, some of you guys is adding vehicle fees, but in the North Carolina General Statute 20-97, the information that you need, the vehicle fees, can be found at the link that's highlighted up there. The municipality will need to decide if they're going to add the vehicle fee to all the body types, or if certain body types will be exempt, because you can't do one or you can't do one on this one, and not all the municipalities have to agree. So if you do one body type, everybody has to agree with that body type. There are no exceptions to that. Again, all the municipalities have to agree on that body type. There's no exceptions. Also, DOR will need a copy of the resolution where the vehicle fee was adopted into your budget. The county will need to update the lookup management VTS configurations with the exempt body types, the body types that you do not want the fee applied to. And you can find that in your VTS lookup management, the configurations part. Adding a municipal vehicle fee. So you would, this is when you go to lookup management, you click on the VTS configuration, and it'll tell you vehicle fee not applicable to. So that's where you're going to enter all of the body types that you do not want the vehicle fee applied to. And if you click on that button down there where it says body style, it has all the different body styles there. But those in that part right there, you must enter the ones that you do not want the vehicle fee applied to. Once you've done that, you hit Submit. Adding municipal fee continued. Click on your Add New button. Under Maintain Tax Schedule, select your appropriate information from the drop-down for each category. The tax rate year, tax district, tax rate type, is vehicle fee, is flat rate, rate flag. So you're going to put your amount. This one in the example is $5, and it's always a flat fee. The vehicle fee is a flat fee. And you could click your Submit button. Adding new districts and generic combinations. Okay. DOR counties need to send their new districts and generic combinations to DOR by June 19th. Please provide the file format. We have an email address for you to send it to, ncvts@dornc.com by June 19th. The file format for new tax district addition can be found on the customer portal. Like I said, the customer portal has lots of tutorials and step-by-step instructions, how to do it, what to do. The file format for the new generic combinations can be found there also. And again, you must be signed into the customer portal to click on the link. And the tutorials are there for adding your new districts and your generic combinations. Please utilize the portal, the customer portal. It has very good step-by-step instructions that Tabitha did for everyone. Adding new districts and generic combinations continues. Okay, your new district example. You have your county code, tilde, tax district code, tilde, your short description, tilde, then your long description, tilde, and your tax district belongs to. Your sort, your tilde, and your, remember those tildes are very important. Your sort order, and then your zip code, and your tax district type. We have some examples up there for you to follow. When you're adding a new generic combination, you need your county code, your tax district, your tilde, your tax district combination code, your tilde, and your tax district type, your tilde, your tax district, and your tilde, your year 4. Very important to follow those steps. And your tilde. Once received from the county, the new districts and generic combinations will be sent by DOR to the programmer to be added to the generic combination table. This needs to be done by June 23rd before the October renewals are loaded. So yeah, October renewals will have your new rates and stuff on it. Once the new district and generic combinations are added, the county will need to edit the tax rate. After the tax rate is edited, the county will need to update the CITES file. The CITES file format can be found on the customer portal. Again, the tutorials for editing, uploading, downloading the CITES files can be found at the link below, but you must be signed in to click on that link. If you are updating or adding new tax district combinations, you will need to have your CITES file updated and uploaded into the NCVTS no later than June 22nd. Your file will need an effective start date of June 23rd for the records being uploaded to reflect the correct tax rate. I'm going to say that one more time. Your file will need an effective starting date of June 23rd. Is that the right date? That's 2016. For the tax rates to be...
That's a typo.
For the rates being uploaded to reflect the current tax rate. So you end it on one day and you start the new one the next day, so it can be affect your upload. We recommend that you give yourself plenty of time to test your new data before installing the file into production.
So just to kind of sum that up, the reason you want to have everything done before the load is it does the CITESing before then. The tax rates can go in later because we don't calculate the bill until the end of the next month. Okay, so we need the CITES file in there earlier so we can capture the October renewals. So, but if you have any concerns that you don't understand the file and how to make it and all that stuff, you know, we'll be glad to help you. It's kind of complicated, but yet it's not. So once you do it a few times, but if you've never done it and you don't feel comfortable, just let us know. We can add the jurisdictions. We can help you with the generic combos, and we can also help with the CITES file. But we do have limited staff as it comes closer to the end of the month here. So we need to, like I said, we need to know as soon as possible if you do have new updates. All right, thanks.
Retiring and address. When new districts are added, the addresses in your CITES file must be updated.
I'll just say I got the dates wrong still.
Oh.
2017, everyone. I'm back to last year.
The current addresses will need an effective end date of June 23rd, 2017, and effective start date of June 24th, 2017. The address changes only need to occur to the addresses that are affected by the new district. The tax districts cannot be deleted from the tax schedule, even if they're no longer being used. The tax rate will need to be left at the previous year's rate for 2017. In 2018, the tax rate can be placed to 0 because you always want to have that rate in there until the next year. You got to have something there. You have to have something there.
If a bill happens to recalculate, it will need those rates in there. Otherwise, there will be a 0 rate on the bill. So just leave it there for the next year. Then you can put it as a 0 years later.
Retiring an address. Okay. We have an example below of what the site is address summary would look like after district changes. So the previous address ended the day before and the new address begins. So like we had, this one ended on June 30th. The effective new date for the next one is 7/1, the next day. So you end it one day and you start the new one the next day. Certification of tax rates. All right. The counties are required to submit their certification of tax rates, certifying their tax rates for each fiscal year. We have the form on the customer portal. We also send out an email with everything on it also. But you can go to the customer portal and print that form. Along with the certification form, the county also needs to send a copy of the budget. The budget listing the tax rates and a copy of a letter from each municipality certifying their tax rates. So please send that information along with your form. These documents are required, need to be sent by July 1st. Okay, you guys need to make sure they're in the system first. You have your two people looking at it to make sure you guys have it in there right. We do look at it too, but you guys need to make sure your information is in there and it's correct. And please send the supporting documentation along with your form.
And on the budget information, we just want to clarify, we don't need the entire budget.
Right.
We just need the sections in the budget where the tax rates are listed. So if your county rate is listed maybe on one page and then you got a list where your fire rates and things like that are listed, just those pages are all the pages we need. I think we got some examples here coming up. And then for the municipalities, we know it's an issue to try to get the information from them. So if they cannot provide that page in their budget, we just need something from them, an email, a letter, whatever from them stating what their actual rate is.
Usually they'll email the county and let them know what their rate is, and some folks have sent that in. So that's documentation because it's an email from the municipality to the county. This is a copy of the form. So it has the certification of tax rates. You put your county up there in the county and sign it. The tax administrator should sign it and your VTS administrator should sign it. And send that in along with a copy of your budget. Just the papers, just the pages that show the rate. Here's a copy of that, what Tabitha was talking about. There's a tax levy. It lists the districts and all the rates. So we're looking for the rates, the information with the rates on it. Changes after July 1st. Okay. Like we said earlier, county users will not be able to add or edit the tax rates after July 1st. Only the state users can do that. To request the addition of a new tax district or change after July 1st, the county will need to submit another form, a different form to DOR. Send it to the NCVTS at DOR NC. That's right. It should be ncdor.gov.
What y'all doing?
I'm sorry. I got a lot of corrections to make. I will resend out the new updated one here as soon as we get done today.
NCVTS at ncdor.gov. DOR understands that some counties will not finalize their tax rates until after July 1st. But on July 1st, new tax rates will be in effect and may impact your new issuance of the new rates that are not updated. So this new policy process will assist all parties, DOR, county, CMV, Farragut, and our citizens when the changes need to be made. DOR will work closely with your counties when the situation arises. But keep this in mind. If your county renewal notice needs to be resent due to errors with your tax rates, a fee will be charged to your county. Again, if your county renewal notice needs to be resent due to errors with your tax rate, a fee will be charged to your county. So please verify, verify, verify.
I know Robin has stressed it a few times, and that's why we ask for a lot of this information, is so that we can look and try to assist you as well. So as many people as you can get to look at those, because every single year we have rates that come through incorrect. So that's just why we ask for all that information.
And here's your tax rate change request form. This must be submitted if you have a change. And it must be signed by your tax administrator and your NCVTS administrator. Tax rate combinations. The VTS is also used to assist with the TR1 report. So if your county uses a combination of tax rates to make one rate, the information needs to be specified when tax rates are submitted. For example, you have your countywide fire, your countywide EMS, listed in the VTS as fire and EMS tax. Additional resources. We have our customer portal, which is very good. It has lots of tutorials on it. Information for you, for county users, different forms, different templates for letters that you send out. But the tutorials for your cited stuff and your tax schedules, all that stuff is on the customer portal. Our conference updates, our presentation, and the different webinars are all on the customer portal. If you can't get into the customer portal, please send us an email, and we will get you into the customer portal.
Actually, this webinar will be on YouTube, so we will send out a link. And we'll pick one of these. We'll put it on YouTube. Okay.
Okay. The additional resources, the training manual, can be found at on the DOR website. And the Farragut Learning Center, and our contact information is up there, and we have a line for VTS support that you can call, and also an email dedicated to VTS.
All those email addresses are wrong.
Right. I apologize again. I flipped right over those, but I'll make all the changes, like I said, and we'll resend it back out here in the next few minutes. I'll work on it during the gap billing section of the webinar.
Please post your questions, and we will answer them. And then?
Yeah, we're going to give us about 5 minutes here. We're going to mute, and we'll get the gap billing webinar up, and we'll go into that after we look at some of your questions. Okay?
On the manpower, right? They're gonna,
There's a question about the fees. You know, if you make an error, if it's a large error and we need to resend all those renewals for that county, I think last year was $160 an hour, but that's per staff member. So if they have to put 4 or 5 people on it, they're going to charge plus the mailing fee as well. So it can be a large amount. I mean, they're stopping the whole renewal file to do that. So well, I think the last couple of times it's happened, the counties have actually fixed them, or we've helped the counties fix them as well. But you have to do adjustments to, like you have to touch the record 3 times. So then the owner would get 2 or 3 renewals in the mail. So you just got to remember that too. Start the, so we'll go ahead and start the gap billing. And if you still have questions about the tax rate webinar, the PowerPoint and stuff, we'll still answer those at the end because all this is going to be incorporated into one session. Gap billing. So I know this is what y'all got up for this morning and came to work just to hear about gap billing. I did a presentation at the back in around the fall conference, and now I did a new presentation at the spring conference. So if you saw both of those, the spring conference is a little more updated, and this is kind of along the same lines. We'll talk about gap billing. There was a law change, and it's in the works right now to change the law on how we're going to bill these. And we're going to talk about that this morning. And we're going to talk about the new fixed file format that we're trying to test right now and put out to your vendors so we can do this on an automated process. So Senate Bill 628 issued in the session law was to do some technical changes to 105.330 and define the value to be used and the new due date and interest calculations for the gap billing. One thing we're changing is the value. The way the law reads now, we would use the value of the prior bill. So the bill that was the renewal that was issued or paid on 2 years ago, we would be using that value under the old law. But the new law allows us to use the value that's currently been paid on. So when the customer pays the bill and you see it something show up on the gap billing, that's the value we're going to use, the most recent value. So in computing the taxes under B, the assessor must use the tax rates at the time, and that's why we made this change, using the tax rates at the time. Why not use the value at the time? It's much easier to explain to the taxpayer. They just paid on that value. Now they've got to pay for the missing months on that value. Under C, the taxes are based on a fraction. So whatever the missing months are, they're divided by 12 to get the value, and then multiplied it by times the missing months. So if you had 5 missing months, divide it by the value by 12 and multiply that by 5, and you get your value. Most software systems will handle this proration. From what I was talking to the vendors at the spring conference, and when I give them this fixed format file, they should be able to put this in your system and come up with a bill for you without you having to do anything processing it by hand. So D, this is kind of the big change here. Now the taxes are going to be due on September 1st, following the date the notice was prepared. Okay, so if we prepare a notice now for gap billing, it will be due September 1. If it's not paid before January 6th, interest will begin. Okay, so that's totally new now. One thing you got to remember, it says taxes due on September 1, following the date the notice was prepared. So if we prepare a notice on September 2nd, that's going to be due next September. And then interest will not begin until the following January. So that's one thing. This kind of a trick to it. We felt like the taxpayer, hey, they get a notice in December. They only have so many days to pay it. We'll probably get some kickback from that. So kind of being taxpayer friendly, which is not good for collecting these. It's due the next September. Okay. So these are going to be treated as regular personal property now, pretty much. As an unregistered vehicle, it's unregistered months, and that's the way it's going to be treated. So the bills will be due on September 1, just like your other regular personal property, except when you do a discovery on other property, it's still going to be due in the same fiscal year. So like I said, interest will begin on January the 6th. It's going to be the 2%, just like on all your other bills. And it's going to be 0.75% every month after that. Now going forward, here's a sample of a bill that we would like for you guys to use, the format and everything. If you notice, we've highlighted the new interest calculation up at the top. We want you to show that on the bill. And then also in the second section where it's got the account number and everything, it talks about the previous registration expired, current registration expired. That will be on there, and plus the gap months billed. It will also, the file will also tell us that, so you can populate that. Also in yellow here, it talks about what is a gap tax notice. It tries to explain to the taxpayer, why are you getting this notice? And we highly recommend you follow this wording. It's pretty clear as to why the citizen will be getting the bill. Kind of here is just a synopsis of what we have. Like I said, the interest is 2%. Most this other stuff is just typically what you would have on your bill. And then here's what was highlighted in yellow. The gap tax notice is a property tax bill that covers the months between the expiration of the vehicle's registration and the renewal of that registration or the issuance of a new registration. So it kind of explains, hey, you weren't taxed for a certain amount of time between your registration renewals. I know there's a lot of people out there saying, why can't DMV collect this money for us? I get that question all the time. DMV is not required to collect for unregistered months. It's not to say that we could not come up with a calculation when someone comes in and says, hey, you owe for 24 months, and we send that back to DMV. But legislatively, that has to be changed. So I know there's a lot of folks out there that, hey, we're back into collecting motor vehicle taxes. We didn't come up with this. The counties wanted this back when we came up with tag and tax, and this is why we've done this. This is why the law was written. And there is a lot of value out there. And there's a lot of tax dollars that can be created. Here's how to run the report in the system, in the VTS system itself. It's run by a start and end date. So you really want to run it for 1 month at a time. And it will show you the bill ID and the previous ID. This bill ID is the current bill ID. So that's what we're using for the value. That's what we're using for the situs. That's what we're using for the mailing address. All of that information, that's the most recent information we have. And then you'll have something that shows the previous bill ID. So if someone came in and asked you, hey, how do you know that I missed months? Well, this information is in the VTS. We have 2 paid bills or 1 paid bill, and we're bouncing off another bill, and it's saying, hey, you owe us for this amount of months. This is not what may reflect in stars. It should reflect what's in stars, but it's just information that's in the VTS that created this gap, okay? It's got your vehicle information, the bill ID expiration. It's got all that information on it. It talks about the owner name now. This only has the first owner on it, does not have the second owner, has the mailing address. The new file I'm going to talk about in a few minutes has all the information you need for billing. And then we talk about the value. We have our gap billing value, and that's the value of the current bill ID multiplied by the month skipped. Okay. As we noticed, we got 14 months that were skipped. We divided the 4330 by 12, and that came up with 5,051 for the value. It talks about the type of renewal processed on the bill. So we have an issuance. So we could have had a paid renewal, and then someone went over 12 months without getting their vehicle renewed, which now caused a new issuance of a plate. And so that created a 14-month gap. I think most of you have looked at this report in one shape, way, or form. You may not be billing right now. Some people are billing off of this report. That's fine. The information is correct on it. This was just some examples. Back when we did this in January, we just ran the file for a few counties. As you notice, we have a smaller county, we have a mid-range county, kind of a larger county than Wake County, which is one of our bigger counties. And you see there is some, for smaller counties that may not be out there, you are required to bill. We understand that there are garnishment, hard ways to collect on this. Well, there's a $30 garnishment fee on these. And some of you have a threshold on the bill amounts that you go after. If you come up with a resolution that says, hey, we're not going to bill for certain amounts under $10 or $5 to go after the gaps, that's fine. You have the ability to write these off under the motor vehicle statute for collection. So one thing about the reporting of VTS, once we go forward with the fixed file format, that's kind of going to be your scroll. That'll give you the ability to answer any questions a taxpayer has for you. I wouldn't use that for your billing because the information we have on the fixed file format, we'll have everything on it. Now, how do we bill? So now the bill is due on September 1st. So do we bill once a year? Do we bill twice a year? Well, we wrote the statute so you could bill by the month. And we highly recommend that you do that because the citizen just bought a tag the prior month. They had the vehicle. You send them a bill even though they question it. Some of them are going to pay it right off the bat. Some are going to question it and pay it. You're still going to have those folks that just lay it to the side. It's not their top priority to pay tax bills, whether it's real property, personal property. Some of them just lay those to the side and pay them late. That's always going to happen. But it's our recommendation you bill as soon as you know. And also at the bottom, I talked about you use your business rule of the amount you're going to bill for. And then you probably have a rule inside your collections office, hey, what's the amount of a tax bill we go out and garnish and go after and try to collect? That still applies. So in the short term, folks that kept their same motor vehicle system, maintain that, they can use their legacy system and import from the file that we have now. They can import that data into their system. I talked to some counties that still have their old motor vehicle system. That's what they've done. In the long term, we're going to give you a fixed file format here shortly. In the long term, could we create a statewide billing file? We probably could. We would send all the bills out, but then we have to send out all the levies for the counties to collect. So there's still some hurdles to that. And I've had several counties bring that option up, is why can't we create all the bills, mail them out, and you guys collect them, but there's still hurdles to collect on how to collect that, how to get that information to you. So here's the fixed file format that we're going to send out. This is going to be an extract file. So there'll be once a month or so we'll generate a new file, probably like on the 10th of the month, something like that. You'll be able to go in and download this file just like you would your Citus file. If any of you have tried to do that, it works kind of the same way. It'll be done as a batch job. So once this file will be just set, hey, this is what happens, okay, unless there's a reversal done. These are just all the fields on the file. It should mimic the old motor vehicle file that you got in the past. So I've spoken with some programmers and they're comfortable with this. One thing we did add, and some of you already have this PowerPoint, I sent it out before, kind of skimming through it, but here's some of the new things that we've added. It shows you the most recent bill value in line 106. Before that, it tells you how many missing months there were. So here's the number of missing registration months. We're going to tell you that. But here we're adding the tax districts that were applied to that bill. So that kind of tells your programmers or whoever's doing your software, hey, we've already silenced this record, so go ahead. We're going to send you your legacy code, and you'll be able to bill. Okay. Now, one thing we don't know on here is who charges fees. If you're charging fees on unregistered vehicles, you would charge unregistered fees on this. Now, if it goes, our kind of thing is if it's 12 months or more, charge the fee. If it's less than 12 months, don't charge the fee. If it's 24 months, charge them 2 years of fees. Okay, so anything 12 months or more, charge the vehicle fee if that's what you're doing on unregistered vehicles. So if you got questions about the gap billing, please post those. We'll get to those in just a minute. There are some enhancements that are coming. We're working on a lot of them. We do say this is 2016, 2017 enhancements. There's only a couple weeks left in the month, only in the fiscal year. So we're going to have a lot of rapid fire enhancements coming pretty quick once we get the gap billing file done. So we did come up with the R&B tax receipt. We kind of pushed that to go along with the customer portal that DMV has, where they can go on, the customer can go on and look at what they paid in taxes. We went ahead and had their tax receipt done prior to that just to make sure we had a way to help the citizen if they wanted their tax receipt. That was completed before tax season hit full swing back in March, I believe. Then now we're working on the fixed file format for the gap billing. We hope to deliver that next month, and this will allow you to automate this process. You will not have to do this manually. Another thing we're working on is processing interest refunds. This is when the customer, it's been determined that the citizen should not have paid interest. DMV can determine that. They are the collector authority, and so they can determine whether the taxpayer should have paid interest, and the county can have input on that as well. So if the customer comes to you and says, you know, I shouldn't have paid interest, they can prove it. They can provide us with that information. We can give it to DMV, and DMV, if our recommendation by the county is to give the interest back, then DMV will most likely do that. But now we are handling this as a manual process. DOT sends us a spreadsheet that says, hey, these folks shouldn't have paid interest, and we have to send it to the county. The county does it outside the operating system of the VTS, which should not be done. And this should be done as an automated process. Everything should happen inside the VTS, and all the reporting should track these interest refunds. So that should happen sometime around August the 6th. We're looking to move that in production. Don't hold me to that because we've got 2 or 3 organizations here trying to make that work. So it could be August, could be September, but I'm thinking August. That's what DMV is looking for. We have our part of the software done. We're just kind of waiting on them to do their testing. Purging unnecessary data. As we know, DMV goes in and creates a lot of abstracts when they're trying to issue a plate. Could be they think the value's too high, the customer may think, and they don't know they need to issue the LRP, something like that. So there's a lot of abstracts out there that are unnecessary. We will be pulling those off the system, and that should help with production environment being faster. We're also always worried about, there's 9 million motor vehicles that are acted upon every year, so that's a lot of records that we're maintaining in our system. the TR1 valuation and levy report. This will provide the county's the ability to track calendar and fiscal year values and how much money is collected in those time frames. Also, it will calculate the budget year. So we will break it down. There's 4 budget years that are paid in the calendar year or fiscal year, and we want to be able, counties to be able to tie that money back to what was paid for those budget years, and we'll break that out. Plus, we'll total it up, take off your refunds. So this will give you all the information you want for your TR1 report. VTS training. We all get a lot of questions about, hey, when are we going to have another class? Counties have turnover. They want a refresher. This will be more of a beginning class. So if you have some new folks that you need to send, or if you have new folks right now, we're glad to come out and sit with them for a few hours and talk to them and train them a little bit. But this will be like a 2.5-day class, and we need an environment that mimicked what we did in the beginning, where we don't need to interact with DMV and STARS for training purposes. Like if we do an adjustment, anything like that, it needs to just work. It doesn't, so you kind of understand the full process. Our environment right now that we use for testing does not have all the data. All the data is not in sync between STARS and that region, so it's hard to test out or train out of that region. So we will be having a training environment. We hope to have that sometime in the fall for testing. And, you know, in the beginning, we called it like a sandbox where counties could go in and play with it a little bit. If we have counties that out there that have a large enough staff where they can train their own staff and go in and show them some things, then yes, we would open that up and let you go in and practice and showing people how to do stuff yourselves. Prorate unpaid LRPs, these are more system changes. This will allow users to prorate unpaid LRP bills. So if you have a customer who comes in, they've turned their LRP in, but they never paid the tax, and they want to pay that tax, but they didn't have it the full 12 months, instead of making them go through the refund process, you will have the ability to prorate that tax and let them go to the LPA and pay the correct amount instead of going through the county's refund process. Because we know that some of those processes are long. Some of them take 3 to 4 months. Some want to get a refund back, and sometimes you can get a taxpayer who has to pay $300 or $400 for a tax bill, and then they wait to get $200 of that back for 3 months. That just doesn't seem customer friendly. So we do have the ability for you to prorate those taxes. Now, there's always a catch there. Is the taxpayer going to go down and pay the tax once you fix the proration? Usually, if they take the time to come in and do that, they're probably going to, pay the tax. Vehicle value lookup. So in the queue, when you're working a record, you do not have the ability to go in and look at the value lookup without going back out of that queue. This will allow the user to look that value, the TEC value, up in the work queue. Add the title date field to the exclusion report. This will allow you guys to be able to use depreciation schedules if you want to on trailers, RVs, things like that, if the title date is on that report. Now, the title date is not always when the customer purchased the vehicle, but that would be the transfer date. We don't always get that, but it will be included in this title date. So sometimes we do get the transfer date. Okay. Now, all 3 of these are kind of application changes. We will send out tutorials when these are done to show folks how to do it and where the buttons are and all that good stuff. So once that's done, we'll show you how that works. If you got questions on the gap billing, please submit those. We will broadcast those, and plus we'll answer them on the dashboard. Thank you.
I'll put that on.
So we have a few questions. So one of them is, if we bill them with the gap billing and the bill doesn't ever get paid, will their tag be blocked somehow? You cannot block for unregistered months. The block went away. You have to use the collection remedies. And like I was talking about, there are thresholds that folks have on garnishing, and whether you go after that motor vehicle tax or not. I didn't write the law there I wasn't asked on the September 1 portion of it. I don't necessarily say that I agree with that. Maybe I shouldn't say that, but if, giving the taxpayer, anybody that has a gap bill after September 1, a whole year and a half to pay, kind of leaves a lot of room there for collecting that tax. But, if you feel that should be changed, if the assessors feel it should be changed, they should talk to their association. But no, there is no blocks. You should not be applying blocks in the DMV system unless it is on a prior tag and tax bill. And DMV does not do any blocking tapes anymore. So. The next question, will the tax year be automatically populated? I've already answered that question. Where's the next one? Where's the question?
Which one you up to? Regina? Oh, who's up to? Okay. Who you doing, Regina?
Bear with us, we're trying to.
All right, so if I process a gap billing file after September 1 of 2017, those bills will not be due until September 1 of 2018. Yes, that is correct. Travis, we revised to bill the IRP files as we do personal property, as opposed to billing through our old vehicle tax system. However, I believe I just heard that the gap billing can still be done through the old vehicle program. How is this different? Who's responsible for the updates on values in our old vehicle program? Well, the value is already going to be sent to you, so you don't need to worry about that. We're putting the value in there. Some counties are billing this as I've heard the word mixed bill. It's almost like how you do your discovery bills. You just go in and build an unregistered vehicle bill. The problem with that is, if you do a discovery bill, that bill is still due September 1 of the same year you built it in. So if you discovered something in November of this year, it would be due September 1 of this year. And the interest would calculate January the 6th. So that's the difference. It's not more like a discovery bill. It's created where the taxpayer has time to pay. IRP files are done as regular personal property. So billing them through your motor vehicle system, you're not going to send those out monthly. You're going to send those out, they're due September 1. The interest should calculate January the 6th. It's not saying you could bill them monthly. They're still going to have the same due date, though. But they're not, if you bill one after September 1, it's still due September 1 of this year. Okay, because that's not a gap bill. Okay, we have a question on the tax rates. We have an unincorporated fire district that's being combined into already existing unincorporated fire district. Tax rates are the same. Is there a mass update option to make this change in VTS rather than having to retire each address? So really all we're doing is you could just change the name on that district code. So if you had that district code was different from the one that's being combined into on all your addresses, all we would need to do is go to the jurisdiction table and change the short description and long description on each year. Okay, just to make sure our reporting lines up. But or if not, when you run the reports, it'll break those districts out. So all you need to do is change the short and long description. If you want to just call us later or tomorrow and just make sure we're all on the same page. But I think Hope County has the same thing. All we need to do is change the name on that right before July 1, and it should be fine. So just give us a call, man, and we'll just make sure that we're all on the same page. So what is the scenario of when you would prorate an LRP in billing? This one is unpaid. That's the only time you could prorate an LRP. Well, you can prorate when it's paid too, but I mean, if that's the only unpaid bills you'd be able to prorate are LRPs. You won't be able to prorate a renewal. You won't be able to prorate an issuance unless it's paid. If the customer comes in and they want to pay, you know, if they turn in their LRP and they haven't paid it, you have no way to collect it. So if they want to come in and they want to pay it, but they owe you $200, but their bill is $400. I think it would be smart to make them go pay the $200. Because a lot of us have, I mean, I know if I had to pay $400 and wait 3 months to get my $200, you know, that's a TV bill. So with the purge of unnecessary data, include the multiple abstracts created by LPA when they are attempted to fix an address or other issues. Yes, we will eliminate those. The one thing we're trying to avoid is eliminating abstracts that would affect the gap billing report. So we do have some unpaid bills out there that affect gap billing. We start gap billing next month when we get the file. Yes. Everybody should be able to work that file and process it once we send it out. Now, 7.2 is our goal to have in production. We've had some trouble with people being able to open the file due to the name on the end of the file. So we're working on that right now just to make sure that gets corrected.
Folks are doing the gap billing now. The question was, do you recommend going back to January 1? Counties that have not.
Our recommendation is to go forward with it. Once we get the file, there's people out there billing some of these. They've been billing it manually, but it's up to the county whether they want to go back 6 months and deal with it. But I would not go past January 1. I'll just leave that up to the county. Once the gap billing is ready, we will send out emails on this. Make sure everybody knows we're on the same page. And we'll also, any of these enhancements, we'll be sending out emails on the listserv. If you've not been getting emails from the listserv, I will contact Kirk Boone. He's kind of over the NCVTS one. Carolyn Boggs has been over the P-Tax one, but she's getting ready to retire, so I'm not sure who's going to be monitoring that.
mandatory that all counties do the gap billing?
Is it mandatory that all counties do the gap billing? Well, it is in the statute. That's about all I can say about that. I think just, you know, we give you the book answer. Yes, it is mandatory to bill, but I think you have to look at the business side of it. If you do decide not to bill, I think it needs to be something you take to your commissioners. You need to speak with them about it. And if you decide on a threshold on what to bill, you know, that's something that needs to be done probably with your commissioners. I would not just say, I'm not going to bill, and you've got a county beside you billing them. And you kind of, what's going to happen here is, with this gap billing, the LPAs, you're going to have your taxpayer come in, and I'm hoping, and we are hoping as a group here, that some of this stuff where the months get changed will stop, because once the taxpayer realizes all they had to do was pay $1.60 in interest at the LPA instead of paying $20 more in tax, I think they'll realize, hey, we should stop doing this. So once we do launch this, we are going to have them put something out to the LPA that say, when you change the expiration months, the citizen will be getting an extra bill from the county, and you should only be there. Their protocol is they only change the months because the citizen's been having the vehicle worked on or parked the vehicle and has not been driving it, when we all know pretty much these folks have been driving the vehicle and just have not had the tag renewed, and were oblivious their tag was expired. So,
How will the tax year and year 4 work beginning in January each year?
the year 4 is based on the tax rate. So I'm the year 4 changes in July. So you're going to see the top year 4 change in July. In January, we're using the tax rates that apply at the time. So whatever rate's in effect in January, that's the rate we're going to use. So I'm wondering if that's your question.
So if that bill is not paid when the customer, so if that bill is not paid, then the customer can still renew with DMV?
That's correct.
The gap billing queue needs to be added to our monthly VTS load.
Well, the reason it's not added to your monthly VTS list is because we're not billing those abstracts. We're going to create billing information from the information in VTS. We're not billing those abstracts, so there won't be a gap billing queue as of now.
If I'm understanding, okay, will the purge of necessary data abstract included the multiple abstracts created by the LPA when they've attempted to fix an address or other issue?
I answered that.
You did?
Yes.
Okay. If I am understanding, if we have not billed gap bills yet, we could send bills for what is on our report. And if sent by September 1, they would have the same due date and delinquent date as our real bills.
That's correct.
That will be sent out in August. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was a good question.
Remember, this is Senate Bill 628. There's some technical revenue law technical changes in there if you want to get out there and look at it. We'll also send this PowerPoint out that has the dates in it. And plus we'll update the other one that had all the wrong dates in it.
I'm working on that currently.
Okay. Can we submit to debt set-off once delinquent? That was a remedy, so.
That's a remedy. That's a remedy. I mean, any of your collection remedies you can use on these once it goes delinquent.
Yeah.
Cannot block.
Is there somewhere we can go to get an example bill of what needs to be on the GAP bill?
I actually sent that on the listserv right after the spring conference. The example plus the PowerPoint has the example, and we have some. And I think what I sent out after the spring conference was you had the ability to edit that. So we can send a copy of it out again. That's not a problem. It'll probably like tomorrow we'll send out a mass email. It has the link to the YouTube video and these attachments with it.
We can put all this on the portal too, as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I apologize, but I got a little confused a second ago. Is the GAP billing report ready to be used, or are we still waiting for something?
The GAP billing report in the VTS is usable. And there are counties out there that are billing off of that report right now. They did not wait like some of the assessors wanted to wait until there was a automated way. So they've been manually billing these. But there are most of the counties have waited to bill. So if you want to wait on this automated process, you're more than welcome to wait. So once we send out and have this fixed file format ready to go, and you can get, and your vendors will be involved in the test of that, so that it's compatible with your system, then you're welcome to proceed. But there are counties out there that are billing. So if you want to bill them from the file that we have in the system, not the old file, but the file we have in the system, you're welcome to do that.
Can we use the reports going back to January? I know that had been issues with them. Yes, we just recommend you don't go past January.
The file will work for every month now. But when we do this file format extract, we're going to go forward with it. We won't be able to pull the prior months. Okay? I don't believe it's going to work going backwards. We're going to set it to generate every month going forward. But the file that's in the system that you can run by transaction date, it works. It has all the information on it. So if you want to use that to bill, it is correct.
Okay. We're going to be here for a little bit, so please continue to post your questions.
Yeah, we'll continue to monitor the questions for this session till 11:30, and then the next webinar, if you have questions or you want to check it out, we're going to invert. So we're going to do gap billing first, and we'll do tax rate one second. All right, so we'll be back at 2 o'clock on that one. If we see a question we need to answer before 11:30, we'll pop back on and answer it and type the answer to it. And we will have, like Tabitha said, all this information will be on the portal, and we'll also send out some emails about it. All right, thanks.